In this video, I'm going to be sharing 6 of the best career growth tips that we've learned after working with more than 3,000 corporate professionals and helping them with their careers and helping them pivot into better jobs. Just to give you a quick background about me, I run an agency called We Are Career, and we provide career coaching and application support to corporate professionals looking to pivot into better jobs. And my background comes from working at finance at NatWest, then tech at SoftBank, and then tech sales at an AI SaaS company, which has since been acquired. So I'm going to be sharing these lessons from the perspective of someone who has helped corporate professionals directly through this agency, as well as lessons I've learned in my own personal career as well. Lesson number 1, job hopping strategically. Job hopping essentially is just pivoting into a new role. This is especially powerful if you are genuinely underpaid or undervalued in your current role and you feel stuck, stagnant, and you want to get growth in your career. Job hopping can be a good way to move into that new role that can unlock that growth. Job hopping has been proven to increase salaries for most professionals. Even in this cooling job market, there's always going to be job opportunities out there that's most likely going to pay you higher than what you're currently making. On average, professionals can typically expect about 15 to 20% salary increases by job hopping. And if you think about it, why it actually works, most companies, when they're internally promoting someone, they tend to give a 3%, 5%, maybe a 7-8% raise. This is at most companies. There are some companies, of course, that are going to give you 15-20% increases. And those companies, I actually advise people to stay at those companies and just ride it long term so that you can climb the corporate ladder there faster. But I also tell all of our clients, if you're going to job hop into a company, job hop until you find a company that is able to give those explosive growths and promotions every couple of years. But the most important thing about job hopping, where a lot of issues happen, is when people job hop too fast. If you're job hopping every 6 months, every 9 months, it's just going to be a red flag on your resume, and recruiters are definitely going to call this out. This can lead to getting less interviews as well, because there's always that bias like, hey, this person, if they join us, are they going to leave in 6 months, 9 months, 12 months? So they don't want to take that risk with you. So if you've ever heard of a strategy consulting company called McKinsey, they have a policy called up or out policy. And what this policy says is that within 1.5 or 2 years, if you're not improving and if you don't have a clear pathway to get promoted into from analyst to associate to engagement manager, if they don't see that in you, then you're just asked to leave, right? So you want to apply that same principle in your life. If you're not getting the best opportunities after working at a company for 2.5 years, 3 years, and you feel stuck at the same role and you don't see a visible pathway to promotion, it's time to move into another role. And now lesson number 2, mastering one role niche. So what does this even mean? First of all, let's define what a role niche is. A role niche is basically a category of similar roles that are a specific fit for you based on your skills, experiences, qualifications. And then there's a subset version of this called role title niche. And a role title niche is basically the types of variations of titles that are used on job boards, that are used on job posts. And these are the typical titles that companies like to use for those roles. So let me give you an example. So if we take solutions engineering as a role niche, there's going to be the subset variations of it, which is called role title niches. And role title niches are going to be, for example, solutions engineering, the most obvious one, and then sales engineering, technical pre-sales, solutions architecture. So there's different variations of it. Ideally, they're just all pre-sales role, right? Technical pre-sales roles, but they have different variations of titles that are being used. But in the end of the day, it all just comes down to one role niche, which is solutions engineering. Initially, at the beginning of a few years of your career, if you're still figuring it out, it's completely fine to basically switch into different roles and different careers. But after working a couple of years, you want to be able to establish like, hey, this is the role niche that I'm comfortable with, that I enjoy, that I'm going to eventually commit to over the long term. And if you are able to do that, job hopping is just going to become easier, moving into new opportunities is going to become a lot better, and you're more likely to get promoted because you become an expert in this niche. So we always tell our clients, when you are able to master one role niche, when you want to pivot into a new role, when you're doing applications and you're doing outreach, the messaging, your positioning, your framing is just going to be a lot more powerful as compared to someone who's frequently career changing. And remember, these lessons that we're sharing with you are what we've seen from some of the best clients that we've worked with, the top 1% of corporate professionals who we see a lot of success for, right? They're job hopping every 2 to 3 years. They're taking their career into their own hands. They are the people who are mastering one role niche. They know what they want. They are building the track record for it. So when they're looking for the next opportunity, their framing is going to be powerful. So I'm going to continue sharing the rest of the lessons with you. But just before that, if you're interested in pivoting into a new role, looking for coaching support and looking for application support, you can just click the link in the description below and learn more about how we help corporate professionals like you. So now lesson number 3. The top 1% professionals usually are very good at networking, right? And there's two types of networking. So I'm going to split this into 2 points, right? So number 3 and number 4 are going to be about networking. But now let's talk about internal networking. So internal networking is going to be basically like engaging in company events, participating in new initiatives and projects, working with managers, getting feedback, being involved, and also building up multiple mentors at companies. So internal networking is basically building relationships and networking within your company. So here's a few examples of how the top professionals usually do this. So 1, company events. So for example, you want to be able to make sure that you're visiting as many company events as possible to increase your visibility. The more you go to these company events, the more you're able to network with your colleagues, with team members from different teams, different locations, and this is just going to expand your network because you never know, right? Years down the line, a lot of these people might pivot into a new role, and if they have something relevant that's relevant to your role niche, relevant to your profile, they might look out for you, right? They might refer you to that role. It might be a higher paying role. So you want to continue building this network so that it really helps you expand yourself into new opportunities. Next, new projects, new initiatives. So if you notice that your company is organizing, for example, a new volunteering initiative, or they're launching a new function, a new project, you want to participate in that. You want to ask the decision makers that if you can get involved, if you could also play a key role in driving that initiative, that's going to help you build the relationships with the new team members involved. You're going to meet new, stakeholders in that project. And now we can look at feedback from managers. Feedback from managers is a very strong point because most people wait until they get feedback from their managers, but you don't want to do that. You don't want to wait. You want to pursue it. So once you finish a task, automatically pursue feedback from your managers. Not too much, not to annoy them, but for the most important projects, for the most important tasks, you want to be the person who shows initiative to seek feedback, not from the manager, but from other team members as well. So you're automatically showing yourself as someone who is accountable, who's looking for feedback, who's looking to invite constructive criticism so that they can improve, right? Again, this ties back into having a growth mindset where you know that if you have weaknesses, you will do whatever to improve it as time goes. And this is also going to help you build better relationships with your managers. And finally, you want to have multiple mentors at companies, not just your manager. And this ties back into the point I was making where if you're involved with multiple initiatives, volunteering activities, committees, and you're going to be working with a lot of cross-functional leaders. So if you are able to have relationships with them, see them as your mentors, seek their feedback, seek their advice, you're building very strong relationships with not just one senior leader who's going to be your manager, but you're having multiple senior leaders. So just keep that in mind. Now, number 4, we can look at external networking. And external networking essentially is just networking with anyone who's outside your company. So there's a few ways to do this. So 1 is virtual coffee chats. So you want to be able to connect with like hiring managers, recruiters from other companies, ask them for informational interviews, learn more about their company, more about their product, what they're up to. So you can do this just through reaching out on LinkedIn, doing cold email. You don't necessarily have to be looking for your next job actively. You're just fishing, right? You're just being open to new opportunities, right? You're not actively looking, you're more so passively looking. So the next thing you can do is have relationships with the colleagues of your friends. So what you want to do here is you want to talk to your friends, learn about their companies, their product, what they're up to, and then you want to ask your friends to connect you with the people in their team so that you can hear their perspectives as well, right? You don't want to overdo it. You don't want to know your friends, but essentially just doing a few sessions like this a month, maybe every couple of months, just 2-3 new people that you're talking to, you're going to expand your network eventually, right? So this is also a great way to expand your external network. The next thing you can do is conferences. So any industry conferences, trade shows, networking conferences. So you want to be able to go to all of these initiatives because you're going to meet a lot of different people from different organizations. And this has been a true and tested method of networking. It has always been there. There's always industry events, conferences happening. Lots of different companies send their representatives inside. It's mainly for networking, right? Networking for sales, networking for relationships, short-term benefits, long-term benefits, you have it all. If you adopt that same mindset, if you get yourself comfortable enough to go out and put effort into expanding your network, the long-term benefits are going to outweigh the short-term effort. And the final way to expand your external network is going to be a very powerful one. So for example, if you're a sales manager at a SaaS company or a tech company, you want to be over time connecting with VPs of sales, head of sales, director of sales at other SaaS companies, other technology companies, So you're building that network over time. And the same thing you want to be doing with recruiters. So if you see GTM recruiters, sales recruiters, you want to be sending them connections over time. So imagine you're just sending about 30, 40 a month, right? It's very easy to do. So it takes like a minute each, right? So if you're sending all these connections, let's say over a year, you've probably built up like 400, 500 connections. I'm talking about connections that get accepted, right? For the sake of the argument. So if you have an additional 500, all people in sales, hiring roles, recruiting roles, and decision makers, okay, when they have new opportunities, when they want to hire salespeople and they see your profile, they see you as part of their network, their recruiters might reach out to you. This is going to help you increase your inbound opportunities. This is one of the most powerful ways people get a lot of inbound opportunities. So definitely try this out. This is a long-term play, but it's very, very powerful. Number 5 is mastering leadership. Leadership in its essence is going to be someone who is a facilitator and not just a contributor. So what does that mean? If you think about it, a facilitator is someone who can manage people, manage projects, they put together the systems and processes to achieve the collective goal, okay? But a contributor is someone who purely focuses on their own tasks and responsibilities to achieve an individual goal, okay? So they call themselves, in the corporate world, we call them, individual contributor, right? So that's what it means. So if you want to break out of that, if you want to get into managerial roles, director roles, right? And if you're still like an individual contributor, you need to be able to mentor people, lead projects, show that you have what it takes to take charge of initiatives. If you can demonstrate that, then you are automatically going to be in the position to be promoted much faster, much easier. So how can you do this? As I mentioned, mentoring colleagues, driving initiatives at work, leading projects. And one important thing for you is to document your wins and achievements to make sure that when the time comes that you're going to be negotiating your salary, when you're going to be asking for promotions, you can showcase these wins and achievements and results over time to be a point of leverage to help you get to that promotion, to get that salary raise with a much higher probability. And so doing that and showcasing your leadership, this is one of the traits that the top 1% professionals have. And now the 6th and the final lesson is to continue to invest into your skills, upskilling. So what does this mean? How can you upskill yourself? How can you increase your skills? One of the ways is courses and certification. So if you look at LinkedIn Learning, Udemy, Coursera, right? You're learning about different subjects, different topics, and you have some sort of credibility by having like a LinkedIn certification, like a Udemy certification, but it's not the most powerful way. The second one is even better, but it takes a lot more time, right? So this is licenses and certifications and qualifications, right? For example, if you're a project manager, a program manager, one of the key certifications you can go for is a project management professional qualification, a PMP they call it. This is going to take more time than simply you just doing a course on LinkedIn, right? But a lot of the jobs, when you see it out there for senior project managers, senior program managers, they're going to say that prefer to have a PMP. So when they have that as a requirement, when they have that as one of their higher preferences, it's going to help you stand out against other people who don't have these certifications. Another way you can increase your skills is going for workshops, right? This can be company provided or this can be private. So you want to be able to go for 2 types of workshops. One, to increase your domain skills, so very relevant to your role niche. Again, if we take the example of solutions engineering, so anything like technical sales, technical pre-sales, learning about evolving technologies, cloud, AI, data, all of that, that's going to help you increase your domain knowledge. The next way is to help increase your other types of skills. So if you're a non-technical professional, if you go into workshops about AI and this is technical skills, right? So you can also go for soft skills like communication workshops, negotiation workshops. There's different types of workshops. So the final thing that I recommend is coaches. Many companies provide their own coaches, leadership coaches, performance coaches. They have it within the company to make sure that employees are always feeling productive. And if they need to talk about anything, they have a coach, they have kind of like a counselor, a corporate counselor within their company. But most people actually work with coaches from outside their company. They're usually private coaches. For example, you have mindset coaches, career coaches, communication coaches, leadership coaches. There's different categories, right? An alternative to coaches is just doing it by yourself, right? Self-learning. So if you just look at YouTube videos, look at, creators making different videos about topics, about communication, about your career, like how you're watching this video, for example, this is going to eventually help you increase your skills and knowledge as well. Courses could be one. It's a low investment method. So it really just depends on how fast you want to move ahead in your career. If you want to move ahead faster, you can work with coaches. You can, go to workshops. You can have one-on-one mentors. If you want it slower, you can self-learn it. So it really just depends on you. And once again, guys, if you feel underpaid or undervalued in your current role and you're looking for career coaching support and application support to save you time, what you can do is just click the link in the description below, watch the introductory video to learn more about what we do and how we do it. Then you can submit an application, which is going to take like 2 minutes, book a call to learn more. And if you also see our YouTube channel, you'll see plenty of video case studies of other corporate professionals that we've helped pivot and job hop into better, higher paying roles. Thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you until the next one.